I'm Scott Weichel. You're listening to My Kind of Country right here on Fish Creek Radio. The name Frizzell is one of the most famous and well-known names in country music. The legacy of Lefty Frizzell has been carried on by his brothers David and Alan, and now their nephew has released his own traditional country music album, proving that the tradition will live on for yet another generation. To talk about this famous new project, it's my pleasure to welcome Jimmy Clay Frizzell to My Kind of Country. Jimmy, how are you?
Man, I'm doing all right, Scott. What's going on out
Hey,
there?
it's a pleasure to have you on the show, but I tell you, I got a problem, and I got to have you help me right away here. I've been listening to your album, and I'm going around the house singing a song called "She Was Cheating on Me," and I keep singing that song. Well, the problem is I'm a happily married man, and my wife says if I keep singing that song, she says it can be arranged.
You know what? That is the wildest thing. That little song, I have to say, it's taken on a life of its own. When I wrote the thing, I didn't give it any credit. You know, it's because it's just one of the silliest songs I've ever wrote. But people love that song. That song has turned out, I've been told over and over, it's an obvious hit. So
It's
I don't
catchy.
know.
It's catchy, I'll tell you that. And you got a pretty familiar voice singing with you on that song too, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's that other guy on there. What's his name? Yeah, David, Uncle David, man, and he kills it. He kills it. When he hits that last little lick, oh, she's been cheating on me, buddy. Oh, that's it. I wrote that song. Actually, the wildest thing is with my son was like 5 years old, and I was on the road with Frizzell West all the time back then. We were like 300 days a year. We was gone all the time.
Wow.
And so I was happened to be home that day and had my old guitar out and just kind of messing around with it. And my son Justin, my younger son, walks in. He's like 5 years old, and I said, "Hey, Justin, let's write a song. You know, just me and you right here, right now." And he was like, "Oh, well, all right, Daddy." You know, and I said, "Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to start playing. You think of anything that comes to your head, you just say it, and we'll write it." And he said, "Well, all right." So I started playing, you know, and I'm playing, and he says, "She was cheating on me, cheating on me. I mean, she was really cheating on me," like that, you know. And I thought, what in the world is that? And I thought, whoa. And so then I wrote the rest of it, but that was years ago.
Folks, right away, I want to tell you where you can get this. Is a fantastic album, and you have either written or co-written all the songs on it. And the album is called Jimmy Clay Frizzell, and you can go to cdbaby.com, and you can sample the songs there, and you can order the CD. And if you're a fan of traditional country music, which I know you are, otherwise you wouldn't be listening to my show, this is a must-have. And I'll tell you what, the Frizzell family has so much talent, and it's very evident with this project that you put out. I think it's incredible. And one of the things, Jimmy, that I really love about your songwriting, you got some of the greatest hook lines. Man, I'll tell you what, one of my favorite songs on this album is called "Let the Ice Cut the Whiskey and Give It to Me Straight." I love that.
Yeah. Thanks. That's one of my personal favorite hooks myself. I do. I love words, you know, and it's like, what's more important, the music or the lyrics, you know? But you know, they're totally equally important, except for maybe the melody is going to catch somebody's attention. That well, maybe they'll listen to the words. So it came right down to it, maybe melody. But I love words so much, and that hook, knocks me out too. I just love that. Yeah,
That's a
I'm
great
glad
song.
you like
I
that.
love that song.
Let the ice cut the whiskey, then give it to me straight.
Well, let's take a little break and play that song. I want to play it for the folks right now. This is Jimmy Clay Frizzell from his new album, folks, at cdbaby.com, and it's called "Let the Ice Cut the Whiskey." And we'll be back to talk to Jimmy some more as we continue right here on Fish Creek Radio.
Here we are at your favorite spot. You've hardly touched a bite. Now I can tell, you can tell, I know something's not right. If you got something on your mind, please don't be afraid. Let the ice cut the whiskey, then give it to me straight. Let the ice cut the whiskey, and I'll take it like a man. It may be hard going down, I'll do the best I can. It's your dime, and I got the time. I don't think we should wait. Let the ice cut the whiskey, then give it to me straight. Skip dessert and order from the bar. If we decide to leave alone, honey, you can take the car. 'Cause I can't get a taxi home, I see me drinking late. Let the ice cut the whiskey, then give it to me straight. Let the ice cut the whiskey, and I'll take it like a man. It may be hard going down, I'll do the best I can. But it's your time, and I got the time. I don't think we can wait. Let the ice cut the whiskey, then give it to me straight. Let the ice cut the whiskey, then give it to me straight.
All right, that is Jimmy Clay Frizzell and Let the Ice Cut the Whiskey. Man, I love that song. Jimmy, we were talking about some of your hook lines, and one of the nice things I like about this, I call it an album. An album to me is a collection of songs, and nowadays a lot of people will just, they'll download a certain track, and things like that. But if when I listen to this whole thing, and I've listened to it several times in its entirety, every single song, and I think that's the way it should be listened to. And I wanted to talk about the very end of the album, track 12, going right into, actually, there's two songs on track 12, and it's My Crazy Life and Alone to Cry. And you've got kind of a train sound in between the two songs, and they kind of segue. Was that an intentional thing for you?
It really was. I had this thought, and I presented it to David because my uncle David Frizzell we're talking about, and I was hoping that he wouldn't think, "Oh, Jimmy, look, let's just record an album what is it with the sound effects and stuff, you know? But he was right there with me on it, you know. And it's also a tribute to Mickey Newberry.
I love the first song. It's actually it's a beautiful slow song, and I think it's right up there with my favorites on the album, "My Crazy Life." And of course, you're talking about being huddled around the barrel by the railroad tracks, and then at the end of the song, you hear this train sound, and then a banjo comes in, and you do a song called "Alone to Cry," which those two kind of tie in together.
Yeah, you know, in a strange way, they weren't written together or anything like that. No, they weren't written together or anything. I just knew, because like what you were saying, I remember the albums, you know, and like this, I try to make it to where it takes you on a journey, takes you here, takes you there, makes you want to dance, makes you want to cry, makes you want to laugh, makes you want to sing along, and then it's like, all right, let's get serious here, you know.
Yeah.
And it takes you on a trip, and so that's what I knew that before the album was finished, I wanted Alone to Cry to finish it. What did you think when you heard that?
Well, the first thing that I thought about was it was kind of almost a continuation of My Crazy Life.
Yeah.
And but yet it had a different message, and the message to me was coming more from the music than necessarily the lyric was on this particular song. You know, the change in instrumentation I thought was very unique, and so
yeah.
it kind of presented that that final message for the end of the album, and that's I knocked me out. I thought it was fantastic. Well, before we get too far along, Jimmy, I wanted to ask you, tell me a little bit about your family background. Now, a lot of folks are, going to be wondering exactly what what your relation is to Lefty, and tell me a little bit about your family history.
Yeah, well, I come from the other side of it. My mom is Lefty's sister, and I was born in Texas. And when I was about 2.5 years old or so, my mom divorced my dad, and we took off to California, where Grandma and Grandpa had went, following us. And if I accidentally say Sonny, I mean Lefty, so I'm going to try to keep it with Lefty. Lefty, they followed Lefty out there, and then we followed them out there, me and Mama, and so then we lived with Grandma and Grandpa and this and that, and they're in California, so I was raised in California, and then Mom got married a couple of different other times, had a couple of stepfathers sang, and went through all that and all, and then when I finally graduated high school, I was 17, and just couldn't, because I wanted to go. Alan, was doing things by then. He was more like a big brother to me, because I was raised with him and stuff.
Uh-huh.
He was still at home with Grandma and Grandpa when I lived with them, David and everybody else had already left the house. But he said I could join his band once I, got out of school, and could get away from Mom, And, well, I was, trying to get out of it. Anyway, Mom wouldn't let me go till I graduated. So when I was 17, I, graduated, and so I went and joined Alan. I lived in San Jose by then with Mom and my last dad, and went and got up with Alan, and like I said before, don't know why he would, let me join up with him. Other than, I have to say, I guess he saw some talent in me and stuff and everything. But really, I mainly, made him keep his word and put me in his band, And so we started playing in between Fresno and Bakersfield there, around Tulare, Visalia mainly,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. And there, started from there, and then it just went on and on, Then Alan said I should learn how to play bass. guitar, and then Alan wanted to go to guitar. So we put in a three-piece and toured around, stuff like that. And then he would either fire me or I'd quit, you know. 'Cause, yeah, yeah. You know, he was my uncle, but he's, like I say, like a big brother. And all my life, you know, he was always telling me what to do, you know, like a big brother, you know, this and that. Now, you know, we're in bands together, and they're his band, you know. But I still couldn't stand him telling me what to do, you know. You know, so we'd get it. So anyway, eventually I went off and just started forming my own band and did all that stuff. And meanwhile, David and Shelley got a hit. You know, you're the reason God made Oklahoma, because they was around that area too. Mm-hmm. They even had a club there and stuff. You know, and they ended up getting the hit and moving to Nashville. And it wasn't long that they called me. Alan actually called me and asked if I wanted to move to Nashville and start playing bass for them. You know, and leave the club gig thing. At the time, man, I was making the most money I'd ever made playing clubs. Man, it was great. Other than it was the worst gig I ever had. Man, the guy was ridiculous. You know, so I said, yeah, I am ready to get out of the club thing. Let's go do some shows. So I moved to Nashville. Anyway, it's time to do something on my own, you know, finally after all these years. So finally, I had all these songs, and like I said, Alan said, come on over and let's get some songs down. It all started sounding so good that Alan said, you know, we should just make an album out of it. So that's where it all kind of came out of. But it's been a long journey. We finally got it all done, stopped the erasing stuff, and then going to a studio there in Nashville, Hilltop, and with David, and Alan too was in there too, and all the greatest musicians in the world, and right here in Nashville. You know, my gosh.
Yeah, I noticed Brent Mason's playing guitar on it. Brent is just fabulous.
Yeah, who was it was telling me? I can't remember who it was telling me. Said Brent Mason's on. I said, yeah, and said, well, I think it was my cousin Marty. And said, well, he can't hurt anything. You know, he's not gonna hurt the album at all.
I would say not. That's funny. That's funny. Well, I want to play another song off of it and come back and talk to you if you got a little bit more time. And we were kind of talking about bands and being on the road and stuff. Tell me about this song. And I noticed Alan sings a little bit with you on it too. It's called Hillbilly Heaven.
Oh man, there's a whole big thing that too. You know that's the thing. Most of the songs on there, they got those stories behind them. Some of them are completely made up. Some of them are half truth. Stuff like that. And this one's got some real stuff in there as far as the Merle part, and that's the craziest part, and there's just a big old long story about that. But Merle did come and see us one night and sat right in the very first row.
Is that right?
Yeah. And now we weren't just a regular honky-tonk band. It was Frizzell and West, but still,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
The craziest. Anybody listening to that think, oh yeah, right, Merle. Well, no, that's the true part. And then the other part's just all from playing honky tonks and clubs. I got this vision of a flashing arrow sign. My gosh, with gravel road, gravel parking lot. With a letter or two missing off of it.
Yeah.
And says you're the star that night. This band's so happy just to play, and the beer's free.
As a musician for over 25 years, I definitely related to this song. I want to take a break here and play it. We're going to come back and talk to Jimmy some more. This is Hillbilly Heaven. You're going to hear a little cameo from Alan Frizzell in there, too. We'll be right back to talk to Jimmy some more on My Kind of Country. Stay with us.
1, 2, 3. There's a flashing arrow sign out in the parking lot. says I'm a star in this honky-tonk. The beer's ice cold, the band drinks for free, and it's hillbilly heaven to me. It's hillbilly heaven to me and the boys. It's another one-night stand for us to enjoy. Though it may not be the Grand Ole Opry, man, it's hillbilly heaven to me. Last night we sold out in a town just south of Memphis, in a little juke joint with no name. Occupancy 103. It was hillbilly heaven just the same. That's hillbilly heaven to me and the boys. It's another one-night stand for us to enjoy. Though it may not be the Grand Ole Opry, it's hillbilly heaven to me.
One night Merle Haggard came to the show. He sat down in the very first row.
It was hillbilly heaven to me and the boys. Another one-night stand for us to enjoy. Though it may not be the midnight jamboree, it's hillbilly heaven to me. Though it may not be the Grand Ole Opry, it's hillbilly heaven to me. Hillbilly heaven to me.
Tell me a Lefty story. Did you get to spend a lot of time with him before he passed away?
Man, off and on, yes. And it just, I've had people say, did you meet Lefty? It was like, yeah. I mean, did you ever meet your uncle? I mean, yeah. I knew him well. And he was just, even as a little kid, you knew something was different. You didn't realize he was a star, because you was too little to know what a star is, But you could tell this guy is cool, He was real cool, real different. He was always my favorite uncle. And a story, man, there's so many. Story about Lefty, my gosh. Well, I can tell one that at the top of my head that's just really funny, that one of his last guys that was working with him told me, he said one time that this new gas station went in Goodlettsville or something. It was selling Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, real cheap. So he went over there and he bought like cases of this Pabst Blue Ribbon beer, and he calls Lefty. He lived down the street from Lefty. He says, Lefty, I got a bunch of beer. I was going to bring you over, 2 or 3 cases. Do you need anything, at the store or anything? And Lefty, he talked kind of different. Lefty says, Yeah, bring over a loaf of bread. He said, okay. So he says when he got there, he had these like 2 or 3 cases of beer and this loaf of bread on top. He's walking down the driveway there in Hendersonville. He can see Lefty and Alice, Lefty's wife, are arguing over the top of the car. And Alice is on the driver's side. She can't see the guy. He's thinking, man, I don't want to get into this argument. I'll just try to slip this in the garage and get out of here. He says, he just gets past Alice, and Lefty draws his attention to her. He says, hey, Walt. And Alice turns around. She sees this guy standing there with all this beer, this loaf of bread, this loaf of bread there. And Lefty says, what are we going to do with all that bread? And the fight was on. The fight, if it was going at all, he threw some brush on top of that fire.
Oh, man.
And it was like, oh no, Alice was like, oh no, there will be no drinking today. Forget that.
There's got to be a song in there. What are we going to do with all that bread?
Can you imagine? Oh, that made her mad. Oh. Like the beer, there's no problem with that beer, but dang, that's a lot of bread.
That's a lot of bread. That's great. I love it.
You know.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, folks, again, cdbaby.com, and look up this album, Jimmy Clay Frizzell, and you can listen to little snippets of the songs in addition to what we're going to play on the show today. But I can guarantee you're going to be hearing these songs on my show every week. I just love this. I love the album. I love the sound, and I applaud you for keeping it real country, Jimmy. And we're looking forward to hearing a lot more from you. And folks, if you get a chance to go see Jimmy in person, please do that, and visit him on Facebook. I know you're not a big Facebook person, Jimmy, but you got a nice page on there.
I try to get. I'm learning.
And I would be remiss if I did not ask you about Jimmy Fortune. I hear Jimmy's beautiful voice on some of this album here.
Was that was so cool. He's just a sweetheart of a guy, and I don't know him that well, but I do know him. But David's the one that is good friends with him, you know. And that last folk song, and David says, you know what we need? We need Jimmy Fortune. I said, oh my gosh, how cool would that be? Then David just called him and asked him, and he said, sure. You know, we had to figure out a time when he wasn't on the road, but we got it, and he came in, and he was just, you know, really cool and so talented.
He's
so talented.
Again, you got some of the greatest hook lines. Another one is think of me if you ever cheat on him. Man, that's a good one.
Oh, that you know what? That's speaking of Bo. I co-wrote that with Bo. I had wrote that song a few years before, and the last time I saw Bo was there in Florida, there before Bama, and celebrating Bo's birthday, man, 70 years old. You know, he's hanging in there. The guy looks good, man. But anyway, I sang that song. We were singing songs back and forth, and I sang that song to him. And when I got to that hook, he just loved it. And we ended up rewriting it, and it really turned into one heck of a song.
It's a great
song. The
song.
Came out of nowhere. One night I was watching TV, and it's like in my right ear, just heard this voice that if you ever cheat on him with me. And I thought, well, that's something. Is it? At first, I thought, is it too harsh? What's the story? You know, we ended up with a heck of a story that.
Yeah, man.
And it turned out great.
Well, there's just some fabulous stuff on this album. Where do I go from here? I'm Not Blue. It Could Be Love. Ain't Love Something. Long Gone Woman. I love that one. And Texas Hold'em. That was a cool one too. It's not about what you would think, folks. It's not about poker. It's about a woman, but it's kind of the same elements, you know, as gambling. I like that one.
Well, that one I leave for the listener to decide what, because I was, I wrote that one with my same son that I wrote the cheating song when he was an adult now, and it was his idea to write a thing about that Texas home stuff, Cray, and all that stuff. So anyway, halfway in the song, I said, is it going to be about a girl, or is it a metaphor, or just that? And we just couldn't make up our minds, so we just kept writing. And eventually I said, hey, look, let's just keep it vague. It could be any way you want it, anyhow you want it. It's both or not,
Well, that's great. Well, I'm going to end and play the cheating song at the risk of making me sing it again for the rest of the night. But
yeah.
Hopefully my wife will forgive me on that.
No.
This is a great one. Jimmy Clay Frizzell, it has been a pleasure. And the nice thing is you and I were able to have a couple talks before we did this interview and get acquainted, and I really appreciate that. And I've just had a blast talking with you, and I think you're just such a nice guy to talk with, and I think you have written and recorded a wonderful album here, and I hope that all my listeners will go pick this up, because I highly recommend it. It's good country music, folks.
Well, Scott, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your audience out there. Everybody run out and buy 2, 3, 4 copies apiece. Look on Facebook, however you got to do it. Let's get this album out there.
Well, we're going to help you all that we can. We're going to keep playing it, and we'll put the links on our Facebook page too as well, folks. And cdbaby.com. Jimmy Clay Frizzell is the album, and trust me, you're going to love this one. We're going to play the cheating song with Mr. David Frizzell making a little appearance in there. And Jimmy, we want to thank you again, and you are welcome on my show anytime, and I hope you'll come back and spend some time with us again. We'd love to have you.
Well, I appreciate you, Scott. Thanks, man.
All right, here is Jimmy Clay Frizzell, the cheating song, as we continue right now on My Kind of Country, Fish Creek Radio.
She was cheating on me, cheating on me. I mean, she was really cheating on me while she was hanging around all those clowns. She was cheating on me. Now I don't mean to complain, it's just that it's driving me insane about what I don't know, what she knows, what she's doing under my nose. 'Cause she's cheating on me, cheating on me. I mean, she was really cheating on me while she was hanging around with all those clowns, while she was cheating on me. Yeah. Hey, the way she walked, you should have known that she could be easily flown. Oh, when you found out she was having a ball, oh, with the guy that hung the drywall. Well, she was cheating on you, she was cheating on you. I mean, she was really cheating on you. Well, she was hanging around with all of those clowns. Oh, she was cheating on you, buddy. She was really cheating on me. She was hanging around all those clowns, and she was cheating on me. Yeah, she was cheating on me, cheating on me. I mean, she was really cheating on me while she was hanging around all those clowns. She was cheating on me. Yeah, she was cheating on me, cheating on me. I mean, she was really cheating on me while she was hanging around. All those clowns, she was cheating on me.